Welcome back to the Nobody Asked for This podcast. I don't know when I'm going to stop singing the intro, but it's apparently not today. I hope everyone has had a great week. I'm coming to you live from I guess not really live. What makes it live? I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. Hope to be for a while, knock on wood. I don't know if this is wood, but I'm coming to you live from a parking lot, which I think most of my podcast episodes feel like I'm coming to you live from a parking lot, not only in sound quality, in subject matter, in just overall ambiance and vibe, as much as audio can have a vibe. I think, I capture the parking lot essence in a lot of the podcasts, whether or not they were recorded in a parking lot, but this one actually happens to be recorded in a parking lot. I talked about a few either weeks or months ago, I don't really understand time properly, how I have some pretty, what I've learned now are unsafe car behaviors. I read somewhere recently that it is not in fact safe to be just kind of sitting in a car while you might feel protected, as in you're in this, metal cylinder, whatever, not really cylinder, this, while you're sitting in a car, you are actually quite exposed. And, if someone were to approach you, there's really not much you can do. Especially if you have my car, which, sometimes it decides to start and sometimes it doesn't. And that's not even to mention the smoke, but you know what I mean. But I don't know, there's something about sitting in a car. Maybe you're waiting for someone, waiting for something. Maybe you just got something to eat. You went to the Taco Bell drive-thru and you don't want to have to wait to get home because then it's going to be soggy and the bag's going to be soggy and the food, is going to be I would rather food be cold than food be half warm. And one day I will tell a therapist that and they will tell me what that makes me as a person. But there's nothing worse than eating something that's still kind of warm, but maybe it's been sitting out for half an hour. Not that I do this frequently, but you know what I mean? I'd rather just eat something straight out of the fridge, because what the fridge does is it gives it a different texture. It gives it a different, maybe flavor profile. It kind of maybe not takes out. It maybe, you lose some flavors, but you kind of gain, something about the process of it, kind of sitting overnight changes the flavor profile. But, when you're eating it half cold, it's this is not how it intended. I'd rather just be honest and be this is cold food than this is half warm nonsense. Half warm nonsense. Perfect episode title. I've recently learned that nonsense is one word. Something I will never understand is what is one word, what is two words, and what is a hyphenated situation. Is it non-sense? Is it just nonsense? Is it non-space sense? I don't know. Something else I've been told doesn't make sense is this podcast. As I like to talk about frequently, I have 0 listeners. No one listens. But I've recently heard that I had 1, maybe 2 listeners. And the feedback I got was that this, not inherently negative feedback, but it's that this podcast is not funny. And I hate to say it, but I kind of agree. I don't necessarily know that I am, I sit down in my, open car in the middle of a parking lot, or, my beanbag chair in my basement and go onto the voice notes app, in search of a chuckle, Maybe I do. And this is probably something I should have worked out before, but I would just like to say, if you are listening to this, which again is not many people, you need to know 2 things. 1, and I do this as a weekly reminder, I know that no one's listening to this. I'm not delusional. I'm not locked up somewhere thinking I have 7 million listeners. I get it. 2, I don't really know what this is. I don't know that this is me, trying to be America's Funniest Home Videos. But I also don't think it's me trying to share my life digitally. because, like, I know no one cares about that. So, I'm telling you, the more I think about this, the more I just feel like I need to rebrand to ASMR and just do, welcome back to the show. And just start eating and doing whatever the eating show is called. I think that is my calling. Because apparently, in the little feedback I've gotten, this isn't working. But I really tried to take that in. So I was like, okay, what could I do on the podcast that, you know, we could really maybe add in some segments. I could do some maybe reviews of things. Because I've been reading a lot lately. For whatever reason, I decided that I was going to be a reader this summer. So I can maybe do some book reviews. But then, do you know what it is? I feel like if I try too hard to do something, then it becomes sad, you know? Because again, I've been doing this over a year knowing that no one's listening. So it's like, if I'm really trying and like putting in like top effort, then it's like, oh, that's, you know, well, he thinks people are listening. So I think, do you know what? I'm going to call the therapist that I don't have yet and just send them this episode because they're being mentioned a lot. I think a therapist would tell me that I don't want to look like I'm trying too hard. Am I a tryhard? Anyway, I really had the intention of this episode being good, and I was gonna, you know, maybe write notes, maybe record it in an actual microphone. No offense, Apple iPhone 10 or whatever version I have. I'm kind of behind on the iPhone. But yet here I find myself on a Wednesday night, you know, hours before this comes out, in a parking lot having to record half-warm nonsense. So maybe we'll work that out next week. Maybe we could do some TV reviews, because I don't do news, I don't do current events. I just feel like that sounds like it could be stale. If, you know, when I eventually get discovered in 2038, you know, and everyone wants to, you know, run and listen to all these podcast episodes that no one used to care about, nobody asked for this, it would just be annoying for them to have to listen to me talk about, you know, news stories from 2022 when that is a year we are no longer in. So I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to stick to my instincts on that. But maybe, you know, we could do some light book review. We could do some TV review. But the only thing with me is I don't really watch, like, I realized this the other day, I don't really watch TV. And that's not in the annoying person, I don't watch TV. Like, no. Like, I would watch TV. I have watched TV. I once didn't study for any of my finals and watched the entire third season of Bloodline, which was a show on Netflix that nobody watched. That's the other thing with me. I don't watch the shows that everyone else watches. I watched Stranger Things once because I felt like I had to. I watched a single episode of Game of Thrones because I got a free download of it at Starbucks. Do you know when Starbucks would used to, like, buy the register, they had those little cards, and it was either like a song, a game, an episode of a TV show that you could get for free? I picked one of those. And it was a Game of Thrones episode. Starbucks doesn't do this anymore and probably hasn't for 10 years, but it was a pretty cool idea at the time. And I watched it and I just thought, well, this is kind of dumb. I'm not much into dumb was a harsh word. Obviously, it's very popular. Obviously, people like it. I'm obviously not, you know, all those people aren't wrong. But it was kind of weird. And either I was totally confused and had people, you know, flip-flopping and mistaken, or there was, like, deep incest happening on Game of Thrones, the one episode that I watched. So, I don't know. Some of the shows these days are sick and twisted. I bet you that's HBO. HBO, just because you can, doesn't mean you should. Just because you don't have to, you know, follow the regular cable rules of you can't swear, you can't show butts, you can't perform incest on your TV shows. Just because you can do those things does not mean you should. I think HBO has taken it a step too far. I like the idea that, you know, you don't have to get commercials, which I think is the reason why they can do all these crazy things, because they don't have to worry about, like, Little Caesars Pizza not wanting to play in between ads of, you know, interesting things. Not to be a prude, But anyway. So yeah, I think we should all rein it in a little bit. I think we're getting a bit out of hand. But also, if that's what you want to do, go for it. I support that too. But like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think that is something I try and live by. Actually, going back to new segments, I was thinking about doing a segment, because as I said, I've been reading a lot. Not to brag, I got an e-reader. An e-reader in the year 2023. I had been reading off my phone for the most part, because I get a lot of my library books through like through like an app that it's just like an ebook version of everything, which is really nice because I don't have to worry about like losing the book or spilling coffee on the book or forgetting to bring the book back or blowing my nose on the book, getting a paper cut on the book, and such and such and such. So yeah, on my e-reader, I don't have to worry about that. Because you do have to worry about that, because if you get a paper cut, then it's going to stain. But I guess paper cuts don't really like a gush. Anyway. But yeah, I was thinking I can maybe do like a segment of all of the books that I have in my like bookshelf or whatever that's called. Library, for lack of a less dramatic word. But all the books that I have accumulated from years of school that I didn't ever read. There's always those classes, even in elementary school, like they assign you the classics. Like you're supposed to read The Giver, 1984. All of those books that I was supposed to read, I did not read. I'm sure I've said this publicly before. By publicly, I mean on my podcast that no one listens to. But I'm here to tell you today at 8:22 p.m. in the middle of this parking lot on July 20, whatever the heck we're on, 2023, I didn't read any of those books. And if you're an English teacher of mine listening, you must think, oh, that's so odd. He wrote an essay on it. Well, I did write the essay. I didn't plagiarize. I didn't use AI, because that's not a thing. But I did just kind of like Google quotes, like just direct quotes. Nothing. I didn't read other people's, not synopsis, but like interpretation, extrapolation of the quotes. I did it all myself. Just kind of the raw quote, and I kind of constructed my own material, my own narrative, and then crossed my fingers. But maybe for the podcast, I could go back and read all of those books, because either everyone's read them and it would be like a fun thing to talk about, or no one's read them and then I could tell everyone what they were about. Like Grapes of Wrath, what's that about? Never read that. Let's see. The first thing I do when I think about reading a book is I look at the audiobook and I see how long it is. Because pages, I don't really understand. Like, you could tell me a book is 400 pages, and I'm like, is that a lot? Like, how big's the font? Are there pictures? Okay, Grapes of Wrath. See, 21 hours. That's going to be such a no. I usually like a 9-hour. If it's good, we can go up to 12. If it's really good, maybe 14. Once we're getting into like 15, 16, 17, 18 hour audiobooks, usually I have to tap out at that point. Okay, so I will not be reading Grapes of Wrath. What's another one? Lord of the Flies. How long is that? The ebook is 99 cents. That's a good sign. 6 hours and 34 minutes. I can do that. The other problem with a lot of these books is they're just boring. Like, I'll read... Well, actually, no, I won't read. But I'll hear, like, oh, this book is a classic. From the whatever teen hundreds. And I'm like, that's going to suck. Because it's like, why can't I just read what's popular now? Although I do understand, it's important to look back at history. And at a certain point, every book is just like a conglomeration of like 4 other books that came before it. Like, we're at the point now in history, and this actually stresses me out. Not in like an I get angry way, but in a, like, we're running out of ideas way. Like, every book is just what is the word? Derived. Every book is just derived from, if not one, then 2 or 3 other books. I think we've hit, there are a finite amount of ideas, a finite amount of stories that can be told, and I think we've hit it, and I think we've hit it, and I think we should hit it. Like, I think we need to, hit the road. We've tried. We did our best, and I think that way with music too. It's like there's only so many notes. There's only so many chords. There's only so many different ways you can arrange them. Like, at a certain point, we're all just like redoing something that someone else did. But I don't know. What do I know? Nothing, clearly. But yeah, no, I will not be reading Grapes of Wrath. The thing I do know is I will not be reading that book. I also could not tell you what it's about. Like, I've never seen Harry Potter, right? But I can tell you what it's about. I've never seen The Chronicles of Narnia, although I was supposed to read it. But I could tell you what it's about. Like, I have an idea. But like Lord of the Flies, I think it's like Survivor, where they're all on a beach, but for movies, but for books. Yeah, I don't know, it sounds a little bit boring, but it's only 6 hours, so I can get through that. Grapes of Wrath, couldn't tell you. Wuthering Heights, could not tell you. I assume it's about a bird, or like the first people that invented planes, or the first person to skydive. What's another classic? Classics. Great Gatsby, couldn't tell you. Pride and Prejudice, could not tell you. Anne of Green Gables, I'm just looking at a list of classics. That, I assume, is about a young lady named Anne who lives in Green Gables. Am I right? The Odyssey. Excuse me, the ghost of Homer passed through me. Anything by Homer is a snore. No offense to Homer Simpson. Awful. I've tried to read one of his books. I actually tried to read one of his books in high school because I had heard good things. So bad. And then so long, too. Like, it's one thing for a book to be long. It's another thing for a book to be bad. For it to be bad and long, I'm sorry, like, it's just not going to work for me. Moby Dick, I believe, is about a whale. That's all I kind of know. What else is on here? Yeah, The Great Gatsby. Peter Pan is a book. The Tale of Two Cities. Chip Dickens. I don't know you. Oh, it's only 26 minutes? Oh, Chip. Thank you for your work. Oh, oh no, okay. According to to kind of add a little bit of context, I'm on the Apple Books website I just literally Googled classics. Tale of Two Cities by Chip Dickens. Charles Dickens. I call him Chip. Comes up. I see that the audiobook is also available. And as I said before, I go to the audiobook to figure out how long a book is in hours. It's more than 10 hours. Godspeed. But I clicked on the Tale of Two Cities audiobook, and it was only 26 minutes, and I thought, finally, Chip gets it. Bring back the 26-minute novel. Bring back the 90-minute movie. Stuff like that. But apparently, according to a user comment, the audiobook that I clicked on was only one chapter. So, not falling for it, Chip. The Count of Monte Cristo. A lot of books I've liked have been compared to The Count of Monte Cristo. Wait. 1,863 pages? I thought that was the year that it was released. How long is this audiobook? 50 hours? What? That's insane. That's longer than all of the Harry Potter books, which I have not read. That's nuts, 50 hours. Watch the movie, people. A movie isn't even 50 hours. If a book can't do in 10 hours what a movie can do in an hour and a half, there's something up. There's something up. And I say this as both a lover of movie and film. like I enjoy both, but like 50 hours is no joke. I also want to do a little bit of a mechanical update here. When I started when I started recording 20 minutes ago, I was hesitant to take my shoes off because, then I would have to put my shoes back on. Somehow, in the span of me looking at classics that I did not read on the Apple bookstore and basically bashing all of these books that have been the foundation for books that I read and the foundation for modern literacy. Sorry, someone's mad. Like, one honk works. A 2-second honk works. I don't know if that picked up, but someone was honking. Anyway, long story short, when I got on the Apple Books app, I had shoes on, and I just looked down at my feet, and they are bare. Shoes gone, socks gone. So I don't know if I've like kind of zoned out and, was comfortable recording and kind of forgot that I wasn't in my beanbag chair on my basement, but I would like to issue an apology to myself. Is this the last episode of July? I think it is. This is our last episode of July. How crazy. Which means that next episode will be our first episode of August. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that I recorded an episode in July last year where I had purchased candy corn. Which, if logic follows, should mean that if I go to the store now, there should be candy corn waiting for me. And I can't tell you how much that excites me. I was thinking the other day, because for whatever reason it decided to rain, it's been like 30 degrees, like hot. If you're a Fahrenheit person, I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but I can translate for you. Around 90, like 80, 90 degrees. It's been that hot for like weeks. And then a couple days ago it decided to rain. And I just thought, you know what? This is for me. I'm ready for fall. The pumpkin spice latte should be back in about a few weeks, maybe like a month. And I'm just ready for it all. So yeah, that's crazy. We're going to be in August. This year, not to be that person, but where has this year gone? I know that's like really scraping the bottom of the barrel for content when, I have 10 minutes left of the podcast and I'm already talking about the weather. But still, it really is like a good thing to talk about. Oh, I have something to say. I did something that I think I need to own up to. I knew it wasn't right. The person at the cashier line knew that it wasn't right. But last year around this time, I got a flavor of Pringles that was based on a flavor of one of the wings on like Hot Ones or something, that show where like people eat spicy chicken wings. And I guess they a year ago came out of a line of Pringles, and it was like one of the hot sauce flavors was a flavor of the chips, and they were great. And for forever, I've been trying to find that bottle of hot sauce. And I don't know if it's like a hot sauce that is made by the show, if it's they outsourced a hot sauce, but like I haven't been able to find it. I did my quarterly check, and I could find it, and it was at this one store in the mall that is like known to be expensive. And by known, I mean I went in there once and it was very expensive. But I was like, okay, let me go check just to see. And I walked in and there it was. And I got so excited. I was like, this is the hot sauce. I can, the flavor of the Pringles that I like can now be the flavor on my chicken wings and on my, macaroni. Yeah, it was so exciting. So much so that I just kind of grabbed it and ran out the store. No, I'm kidding. I grabbed it and just like ran up to the till. And I get to the till, and the nice person at the register was like, "Oh, do you have a phone number with us?" Which is every cashier's new statement. It's the new, "Do you have any plans for the rest of the day?" "Do you have a phone number with us?" I said, "No, I don't have a phone number." And they said, "Well, it's cheaper if you get a phone number." And I said, "Perfect. Here's my phone number, my email, my address, blood type, like take it all. Whatever's going to get that price down, like let's go." And, everything is seemingly going well, and they say, "Okay, that'll be $27.99. $27.99. I was semi-flabbergasted. I was the person at the register had a bit of a smirk as well, not in a rude way, but in like they were shocked, and I think ready for me to be like, you know what? It's actually fine. Like I didn't know what to do. I was like $27 for hot sauce, and it's like a little jar. I think it's like 5 ounces. Like it's like a little jar of hot sauce. So anyways, I bought 3. No, I didn't buy 3, but I did buy 1. And so far so good. It's not the exact same flavor profile as the Pringles of this flavor, which is a bit of a disappointment, but it's pretty good. But is it worth $27.99? You could probably do the math of like how much per drop it is. It's probably like, I don't know, 25, a quarter per drop of hot sauce. Not great. I've also, speaking of fall, okay, I'm going to be completely honest. The last sort of couple minutes of this podcast have been from a different location. I'm out of the car. I made it safely out of the car. I am back in the comfort of my beanbag chair in my basement. I needed to head home from the parking lot. I had been there long enough. So I apologize. So somewhere, I think like 3 minutes ago, I finished a sentence that I had started like an hour or two prior. But that's just me. That's just me being honest, and that's all I can do as a content creator. I guess everyone's a content creator. Honestly, what wakes me up in the morning and like gets me to work is knowing that as long as I hold the job, if I ever end up on like The Price is Right or any sort of reality show where they put your job title in the bottom, it won't be unemployed. Like I have something. And I think that's something worth celebrating. I'm also very excited. I know we were speaking of fall earlier. I'm just getting all these, because every account I follow is some sort of food, like special food, specialty food, limited edition food tracker account. I actually think that's my calling, to like collect grocery store data, whatever, however you pronounce it. And just like announce like, oh, they have pumpkin spice this or pumpkin spice that. So I'm seeing in the next couple weeks, we're going to be getting a lot of more pumpkin spice stuff back. And I think that is exciting. That is something to celebrate. I'm going to need McDonald's to make a pumpkin spice McFlurry. I'm also going to need Dairy Queen to bring back the pecan pie McFlurry. They never got rid of the pumpkin pie McFlurry. That comes back every year. But last year, they did not bring the pecan pie McFlurry back. And actually, while there's still time, I would like, normally every November, December, I come on here and complain that the gingerbread and or the eggnog latte was not brought back to the Starbucks holiday menu. And at that point, it's like a little bit late. Like, it's just a little too late. Like, they can't do anything about that now. But if I start complaining about it in July, maybe, or I guess complaining is not the right word. If I start lobbying for it in July, maybe there's enough time for, me to make a change that I wish to see in the world, and they can fix it. So if anyone listening, no one, makes the decisions for what the menu is at Starbucks, the menu coordinator, if you would like to just add the gingerbread latte back on, or the eggnog latte, please do. I notice on your app, you have like 20 different syrups, you have 3 different types of vanilla, you have like 2 different types of caramel, and then also a brown sugar, which I'm really struggling to see the difference. Like, just add a gingerbread syrup, please. Please. Also, eggnog latte I kind of get, because like you have to bring in like another thing of dairy when you already do a lot of like milk alternatives. But like, if you wouldn't mind, that would be great. What else do I want? I'll start there. I'm sure I'll think of more stuff, but I'm going to start there. I'll start there, and we're going to end here. Thank you so much for listening. Again, no one listens, but just in case. And certainly no one listens to the end of them. So I could just bury my life secrets in here and no one would know. Do you know what? I think in one of these episodes, I'm just going to do a live reading of my will. I don't have a will, but I'll just like do it verbally. And then just hide it, stuff it at the end of an episode that no one's going to listen to. So stay tuned for that. And they tell me I don't have structure. I hope you all have a great week. I guess it's more of a great weekend. I hope you see a friend this weekend and you tell them, hey, you should go to the website, podcast.nobodyaskforthis.podbean.com. You should tell them to go there. And then when they go there, they can listen right on the website to any of our episodes, but you can also get links to our Apple, our Spotify, other places, Amazon something. Not LinkedIn. It's like linear. I don't know. It's all in there. You can also see our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. All the links are on there. There is a TikTok up for this podcast that exists. It has not been updated in officially over a year. But hey, you never know. Weirder things have come back. Not the ginger red latte, but I'm going to let it go for now. And I'm going to let you go. So thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Again, I know it was nobody, but if there is somebody, I really appreciate you. Truly. Okay, bye.